your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator.
Introducing Bark in the Belly Premium Dog Food. 100% of profits go to help dogs in need.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Man, don't you just love high-stakes sports in the middle of the day, in the afternoon, here at 1 p.m. Eastern time, as we are live on YouTube 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with stuff going out every day. It's the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart. And Cam Stewart, your host here, is locked TF in right now. Because in the time that we were counting down to the start of this episode, Canada has tied the Czech Republic. There's 70 seconds left in a knockout game, 3-3. This has been absolutely awesome. What an appetizer for the U.S. I'm ready to go. And Sweden, right after this show. We are the in-between for you. And I'm not going to lie, man. I love seeing Canada lose. I do. I think it's funny. I love trolling them. David Pasternak's been probably the best player on the ice in this game. So if he knocked out Canada, like, that is extra special. But I want to face Canada. I want us to knock out Canada. I want the U.S.-Canada gold medal game for all the marbles. I don't want Canada to not medal at all. If they did, it would be hilarious to kind of bring up, but this would be like the 86 Celtics playing the Rockets instead of the Lakers. Sorry to Zach, who's behind the glass keeping us on the air every day. I don't mean to offend him there, but it would have been... I think the Celtics were looking to face the Lakers in that one. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about the Patriots promoting Zak Kuhr to their full-time defensive coordinator. We're going to have Jackson Roberts on in a few minutes, our resident Red Sox expert, to talk about the distance between ownership and the fan base right now, some of Sam Kennedy's comments, the whole Alex Bregman overreaction, if it's an overreaction, and really whether the Red Sox got better from last year and what the holes still are in that lineup. We'll talk about that. And then I am very excited to poke some holes in a prevailing argument on social media, on the internet, on people who cover this sport. Bo Nix is not better than Drake Maye. He's not. And I will go so far as to tell you exactly why Bo Nix snapping his ankle in the playoffs this year is the best thing that's ever happened to him PR-wise, because now we think he's this elite quarterback. It's not true. We're going to debunk the theory. All that and more coming up on this episode of the Wicked Boston Show. And as we have Jackson Roberts here in a couple minutes, we got to talk about the big Patriots news of the day. Probably unsurprisingly, Zak Kuhr is now the full-time, full-stop defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. Terrell Williams had the cancer diagnosis, thankfully beat it after the end, really right before the Super Bowl, I think. And there was now this kind of controversy, this Brady Bledsoe thing. Like, Zak Kuhr just had this great season calling plays and stepping in as the defensive coordinator. But Terrell Williams is the guy that had more of the experience that Mike Vrabel actually hired. Now what do? Well, last week it was announced Terrell Williams would go up to a higher role within the organization. I don't know exactly what that is. And that if you were the Patriots, you probably needed to lock Zak Kuhr down because somebody would have taken him. I know the Cardinals were a team that were looking at him, looking for a new DC. Like that, he would have been a hot commodity had he truly made it to the market. Instead, he is the Patriots defensive coordinator. But is it that simple? Is this a gamble for Mike Vrabel to promote Zak Kuhr and keep him on here? Because when you pull it back, he's called plays for 1 year. You know, you look him up on Twitter, and his Twitter handle is still for Texas State, and it says assistant coach for the New York Giants. And I'm not saying you can't hire a guy because of his Twitter handle, but it shows you just how far Zak Kuhr has come over the last couple of seasons. From, group of 5 college football team to, well, basically a group of 5 college football team in the New York Giants to being the defensive coordinator in the Super Bowl. So I like that he's promoted. I love what the Patriots defense did this year. But I can't sit here and say that this is not a gamble, that it doesn't worry you to some degree. As much as we talk about Drake Maye against the schedule and this and that, it's like, well, if you're going to do that, you got to say the same about Zak Kuhr. He defended, called plays against a weak schedule. I think it's a weak argument, but it is still a gamble here. But let's get to the positive. Because Zak Kuhr, in my opinion, is a great fit for this job. Will there be some worry there, some angst there, some questions there? Sure. But here's what the Patriots defense did under Zak Kuhr this year. We're the 3rd best defense in points allowed, which I don't know about you guys, but that's one that I take pretty seriously. DVOA might be the best stat, which they were also top 10 in. But last time I checked, you you award the winner as the team who scores more points. So if you give up less points, that's probably pretty good for a defense. They're the third best defense in the league in points allowed. Okay. They were also top 10 in yards allowed, turnover differential, yards per play, yards per rush, yards per pass, third down conversions, fourth down conversions, and defensive EPA added. And top 10 in turnover differential. I had that one. Okay. And remember, at the beginning of this season, it was all about that run defense. I think they tied the NFL record. It was 8 or 9 straight weeks to open the season where they held a primary rusher under 50 yards, equaling a 75-year-old record. You could not run the ball against them. Nobody could. And that was Zak Kuhr doing it and taking over. By the way, Mitch Marner just had an unbelievable, disgusting overtime game winner. That was insane. For a guy who does not show up in big games, he certainly does for Canada. It must just be a Leafs thing. That is crushing for the Czechs. But if I'm clipping this and you're watching it on YouTube afterwards, this means nothing to you. Canada has moved on. They will, in all likelihood, get a medal. They get 2 more games now. Anyway, back to Zak Kuhr. That streak was not a fluke because, they did go through a bit of a stretch in November, December, where they weren't as great against the run. It just so happened to coincide with Milton Williams being on the IR. The guy that you paid $26 million a year to be your run stuffer. And when Milton Williams comes back, wow, wouldn't you know? There's some tough SOBs to run against again. The end of December, they were awesome. And in the playoffs, as you know, they were awesome. And I know this is bad news for Stephen A. Smith and Peter Schrager because they have to learn who Zak Kuhr is because he is the defensive coordinator full-time for the Patriots now. But the dude absolutely cooked in the playoffs. For all the crap you want to throw out about Drake Maye and the offense and Josh McDaniels in the postseason, which some of it's fair, by the way, you can't say that about Zak Kuhr's defense. In fact, you could argue the Patriots were in the Super Bowl because of Zak Kuhr and his defense and the game plans that he had, the truly brilliant game plans that he had, which I think get, again, kind of washed away because we're talking about Drake Maye and we're talking about Mike Vrabel and we're talking about, all these other guys. And that's fine. They deserve their moment in the sun. But we did not talk about Zak Kuhr enough. Game plans, simple game plans, as a matter of fact. Against the Chargers, you got 2 tackles down. How about, I don't know, we blitz the shit out of them all night. We have a pressure rate of 50%. Just keep coming after him. And they did that. And they made Justin Herbert's life hell. And then the next week, CJ Stroud came in here and made his life hell. Zak Kuhr and his defense bullied CJ Stroud so bad that there were legit media members, football people, talking about how CJ Stroud shouldn't be playing in the NFL. Dan Orlovsky saying 31 other quarterbacks could have beaten them that day. It's wrong. It's stupid. But that is how bad they made CJ Stroud look with his 4 interceptions in that game. It got to the point where Zak Kuhr is such a guy that nobody knew about that it had to be the quarterback's fault. It couldn't have been the Patriots' defense. And then I'm very open in saying this. I don't care if it was 70 degrees and sunny against Jarrett Stidham in Denver. I don't know that they would have scored more than 10 or 14 points against the Patriots. That defense was already cooking, and they could not move the ball at all against them. I don't care what the elements were. So, Zak Kuhr, is it a gamble? Yeah. Does he deserve it? Also, yeah. I think he absolutely played himself into a spot here. And you just look at the film at what they did in the wild card round, in the divisional round, and shoot, man, they even did it in the Super Bowl. Here's the problem. Zak Kuhr did all of this without a pass rusher. Harold Landry gave you a good month, 2 months to start the season, but they couldn't get a hand on quarterbacks after that. And you saw it in the Super Bowl, man. Like, how many times did they have Sam Darnold dead to rights? And Milton Williams is a hell of a player. He's not a pass rusher. If they get, I mean, we're obviously talking Max Crosby now, but if they get a good pass rusher in here, this has the ability to be a top 5 defense in the league rather than a top 10 defense. And that's what Zak Kuhr gives you. But hey, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. Well, we come live to you 3 days a week now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But guys, we got videos going out 5 days a week on the YouTube channel. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio, the only show in this market that is for the fans and by the fans. It's the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart here on 365 Sports. We got to talk about a sponsor in a minute. We got to have Jax Roberts on in a minute because that is our dude, and we got to talk some Red Sox. But yes, Canada is moving on. I was so locked into that. I almost wasn't even talking about Zak Kuhr for a minute there. Mitch Marner, backhander, sick, 3-on-3 overtime, which I like in a regular season NHL game. I don't know how much I love in a medal round knockout. It's technically not the medal round yet, but it was like a minute into the overtime. So whoever has possession is probably going to win those games, especially if it's Canada. Especially if it's Canada. But guys, let me tell you about one of my favorite watering holes now that I am back in the greatest city on the planet. Okay? I'm talking about Blackmore Bar in Charlestown. It is the best spot for an extensive beer list and a bite to eat before you head over to the Garden. Pre-game, post-game, Celtics, Bruins, doesn't matter. Cheap parking, direct access. You got Route 93, you got Route 1, Storrow, Memorial Drive. You just go over the Bill Russell Bridge, and you are walking to the Garden in one of the best spots in the city in Charlestown. Perfect spot before or after Bruins Celtics game. And guess what? I'm going to put it to the test because next Thursday, I will be out there. The Wicked Boston Show will be at the Blackmore Bar. It's special time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, obviously. That's Thursday, February 26th. It's the first Bruins game back after the Olympic break. Hopefully after our boys have captured Olympic gold and we get a nice little ceremony for Charlie McAvoy and Jeremy Swayman. That will be Thursday, the 26th, right next to the Garden. If you're going over to the game, head over to Blackmore Bar first, last, and catch the Wicked Boston Show there. Can't wait to see you guys out there. But what I really can't wait for is our next guest. So we're going to take a short 2-minute break here, and then we're going to bring on Jackson Roberts of Sports Illustrated, our resident Red Sox expert, to talk about this disconnect between the owners and the fans again, and really ask the question, has this Red Sox team gotten better from 2025? That's coming up next on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, for true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
At Mitzi, we believe the right light can transform any space. Mitzi has the perfect design for you. Beautiful, well-made lighting without the high price tag. Discover your perfect light at Mitzi.com. That's MITZI.com. Mitzi. Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
Everybody at Equalife really has a passion and a real interest in helping people feel well. How much further can we go to get you feeling even better? It is a complete partnership between the two of us.
At Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone anywhere. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
Back here on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart on 365 Sports. Last word on the Canada game before I get Jackson Robertson here. It's a sickening goal if you haven't seen it. Mitch Marner, the overtime winner. And it's so hilarious how many, like, just ridiculously clutch moments he's had for Canada. With the World Juniors, the Four Nations last year, scored an overtime winner, assisted on McDavid's overtime winner in a pretty sick play. And this is going to be on highlight reels forever for Canada. And he just 10 years with the Leafs couldn't muster up one of those. Not a single goddamn one. Puts on the Canada jersey and he's friggin' Gretzky. I mean, what a player, but Jesus, it's funny. It is funny. Hopefully Matthews can do something like that for Team USA. But alas, we got to move on. We got to talk some baseball, and it is starting to ramp up quite a bit. The Red Sox are already making the headlines, and we are a month and a half from opening day. Let's bring in our resident Red Sox expert from Sports Illustrated, Jackson Roberts, back on the show. Man, Jackson was just dying for the Patriots season to be over so we could get back to talking some baseball here on the Wicked Boston Show. Jackson, and they can't help it, man. They can't help it. A week after the Super Bowl, the Red Sox put themselves in the headlines again with this Bregman thing, with John Henry now not having talked and taken open questions from the media in 6 years. It's crazy. It is crazy. I do want to talk about this disconnect, and it starts with Sam Kennedy's comments on Sunday about Bregman. If he wanted to be here, he'd be here. How do you read that situation?
Boy, it's going to be a long season of trying to measure up whatever the Red Sox are doing to Alex Bregman. And I mean, Sam Kennedy has to know how ridiculous he sounds when he says something like that exact soundbite. And it's a tough job when you're like kind of the go-between between ownership and the fans, and you're probably not really the one who's like pulling the strings behind the scenes. I mean, we could debate that to some degree, but my goodness, I mean, you just have to recognize that, like, when you don't have the biggest offer for Alex Bregman and you don't give a guy who's been to the playoffs 9 years in a row and no trade clause, you didn't present the best situation for the guy. And I honestly think it's a better debate of whether or not it was like the right move to bring him back, or whether it was the right move to spend the $130 million on Ranger Suarez and go get 5 years, 6 years younger Caleb Durbin and not spend any money on him. Like, you can have that debate, but what you can't debate is that you didn't have the best offer on the table for Alex Bregman. And it's not really some big secret why he left for the Cubs, when in reality, he probably in his heart of hearts did want to stay, but only if he was getting the best deal. And that's not what you presented him.
Well, but wait, because Boston is a great baseball town, Jackson.
Absolutely.
Okay. Great place to live. Old ballpark.
Yeah.
Makes the playoffs. Oh, shit. Wait. The Cubs have all of those things too and offered more money. It's crazy how that works, man. Crazy.
And the guy lives in Arizona and spring training's in Arizona.
Works, man. It's somehow, some way, he is justified a way to go to the Chicago Cubs. It's crazy. Yeah. I do want to ask kind of that point you had in there of like, and I'll frame it this way is, you know, we're still up in arms about Alex Bregman. Like, if the Patriots lost in the divisional round, we would have done like 3 straight weeks of Alex Bregman leaving and going to the Cubs. So has this become a bit of an overreaction at this point when you look at what the future would hold for Alex Bregman?
I sort of do think that. And the issue is, this is a team that wants to win now. And Alex Bregman is not only a winning player, but the type of guy that you want leading your clubhouse when you're trying to undergo a win now effort. At the same time, I mean, I watched along with everyone else as Alex Bregman kind of struggled, limped down the stretch last year. You have to be like at least tentatively concerned about like the leg injuries, and, you know, as great as the glove has been throughout the years, that's not something that tends to age well on the left side of the infield past 30. And overall, I mean, like, I would have been comfortable with the Red Sox overpaying for him because it's not my money, but I think you'd have to call what the Cubs did an overpay. So I am gonna be on the fence about it all year probably. And obviously, like Caleb Durbin, much less proven commodity than Alex Bregman. I don't think anybody's disputing that. If the two finish the season with an OPS within 40 points of each other, I feel like you consider it a win for the Red Sox when you think about how they went and spent that money on a pitcher who I think you expect to be at least like a mid-rotation and maybe better in Ranger Suarez. So I don't know. Like I think the Bregman thing is mostly like anger about Red Sox leadership, the way they've done business over the last several years, and obviously the whole Rafael Devers incident that I simply don't have the energy to rehash, single day for the rest of my life. But it keeps coming back up. So I think the short answer is like we'll see what the Bregman thing equates out to by the end of the year.
I think the trades are like gum. They used to say if you swallow gum, it's in there for 7 years. So we got one more year to talk about the Mookie trade, Jackson. That's what that means. And we've got 6 more years of the Devers trade. And I think you're right. Like that, so much of that context is what pisses off Red Sox fans, right? Then you're talking about, oh, here's the guys you got in the Devers trade, and you've spent them for what? And you said you were going to spend this money that you saved from the Devers trade, and you didn't even sign your number one free agent bat, a guy you already had on your team, your manager's favorite player. And then you have the balls to come out here and say, well, if he wanted to be here, he'd be here. And it is like pushing us, those of us left, right to the edge. And that's where I want to talk about the ownership and the disconnect, because I'm really interested to hear your perspective on this. Like I grow up a cynic, like kind of the last of that cynical Red Sox fan that we're still here somewhat, grew up around here, saw the 4 World Series, man. My dad never thought it would happen. And here it is. Like we should be counting our blessings, except for the fact that this ownership group, I think, has hampered this franchise the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years since their last World Series title. And now there's a huge disconnect here. Like, what do you think? What do you think is the reason for this humongous disconnect between the owners and the fan base? Because they've always been weird. John Henry's always been kind of like a crypt keeper. Okay. But there's not winning anymore. And it feels like a totally different franchise from what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, you look at 2019 when Dave Dombrowski's last year as chief baseball officer, or maybe it was still called president of baseball operations at the time. They're coming off a World Series and they have the number 1 payroll in baseball. And I think that's like what you can point to as like the point when things started to go a little bit sideways. Now, I don't want to just like willy-nilly go crapping all over Red Sox ownership, because I think in the last year and a half, there's been like a pretty conscious effort. I think starting around, ironically enough, it kind of starts around the Devers extension, but it really gets going with, the hiring of Craig Breslow and the extension for Alex Cora, where like they are pouring more resources into this team, which is what we've been asking for. It's still arguably not enough, but it's more. And they've done a lot of good bits of business. I think you can argue the Garrett Crochet trade was a great bit of business. The extension, even better. Yep. When we see whatever contract Tarek Skubal is going to get next winter, we're going to be even more impressed by the contract they managed to sign Crochet to. I think we're going to say the same thing in 5 years about Roman Anthony's extension, because I think he would have been a $500 million type of player. So, and ownership greenlights all that. And that's not something that they had necessarily been doing, or, maybe they didn't have the ability to do so in cases like Mookie and whoever else back in the day. But I just want to acknowledge that there's some good things going on. With that being said, I think you can point to a ton of missteps along the way in terms of public perception. The biggest one I would identify as the full throttle comment before the 2023 season, I think is just continues to be mystifying. And, when you finish last place, what was it, 4 out of 5 years, something crazy like that, you're genuinely just not going to like build up credibility with a fan base that expects to win. So I think they've gotten out of that like awkward middle ground where they're very clearly not full throttle, but they're not tanking either. And now they just like kind of can't keep their foot out of their mouth, or can't like, they get down to the 1 yard line in terms of these, roster building like machinations, and can't, push the Bregman deal across the finish line or whatever.
Slants that are running it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like still obvious issues, but I think things are generally trending in the right direction, which is why I feel like this is such a big year for the Red Sox and their like trajectory as a franchise. Cause, it's like if you lose Bregman, you miss the playoffs the next year, then like a whole lot of people who were tuned in last year who hadn't been are just going to tune right back out. So I think we're walking into a pressure cooker of a season for sure.
Especially, and I bring it up for the third time here in this Red Sox topic, but like the Patriots are good, they've got a quarterback. And I saw it at the end of the teens, early 2020s, where like once you got to Patriots training camp, even in a great baseball town, there was a bit of the fan base that checks out. And if they get back to October, they check back in. And you could run into that. Like that is part of this for sure. Do want to talk about how consequential a year this is for the Red Sox, because I agree with you. And we went into this offseason talking about, man, the Red Sox have options like they haven't had in a long time in terms of prospects, both position players and pitchers, trade assets. They got log jams. They got money. There's all kinds of things the Red Sox can do. They should have been the most dangerous team going into the offseason. And now I sit here as the team is reporting to Fort Myers, and I ask you this, Jackson, is the team better than they were last year as it is right now?
I mean, I don't want this to like come back and bite me because, there are some things we've identified throughout this conversation that would, suggest that, it wasn't the perfect offseason by any means, but I think you'd have to say they're better, at least on paper. The rotation is so much better. I mean, it's night and day. And that was one of the biggest concerns we had. I mean, we had a rookie making his 5th career start in the playoffs in an elimination game at Yankee Stadium last year. And that same rookie is going to start the year in AAA, even though he was really impressive last year. So I think that the transformation they made to the rotation, and frankly, they kind of gave themselves 3 shots and only one of them really needs to like hit in order for it to be like a successful rotation transformation between Sonny Gray, Ranger Suarez, and Johan Oviedo. And I think people are like kind of not registering how good Johan Oviedo could be because he's the number 5 starter. But I just want to say, look out for that guy. And then you have your Tollies and your Earlies coming in behind them. So I think you're like guaranteed to have a really good rotation this year. And the other thing is like the Red Sox, they sort of righted the ship towards the middle of the season, but they were like a historically bad team earlier in the year in 1-run games. Like they were losing every single extra innings rule game. They couldn't get the clutch hit when they needed it. And I'm not like guaranteeing that problem is going to improve, but you have a lot of like young core pieces in this lineup who have been around for, this is their 3rd or 4th year now. And I think that's around the time that guys sort of start to figure out how to hit situationally. So whether it's Ceddanne Rafaela, Wilyer Abreu, Anthony in year 2, who I think we all just think is a superstar already, Jarren Duran, like these are all guys that have really been around now. And hopefully those are guys you can count on when the chips are kind of down and it's, the 10th inning and you just need to move the guy in from third base that can like actually get the job done this year. So there's a lot of things working in their favor, even if we don't love every single thing they did.
And by the way, all those losses in 1-run games comes with the best relief pitcher in baseball last year.
This is a good counter argument. You need the bullpen to be really good again, and you need some other guys to repeat really good seasons. So you could make both ways for sure.
Yeah, and if you ignore the bullpen side of it, you're saying, we might not be in as many 1-run games. I'm trying to say it as like your situational hitting was really bad for most of the year. The fact that you had a guy who doesn't even allow hits and you were losing these 1-run games, it was embarrassing at times. I do want to talk about Oviedo because I am part of the group that hasn't talked about him enough and hasn't looked at him enough, because we talk about Tolley and Early and, who these next guys, the cost control guys are. Oviedo is in that mold and there's a lot to like about him. What do you like about Oviedo?
Well, I wish he was a little bit more cost controlled, truth be told. He's only on the contract for 2 years. So hopefully he really pops off this year and then we kind of see what the future holds. But I think the Red Sox have identified that they just like big dudes who get a lot of extension and have good fastball shapes. And Oviedo, for most of his career, was a big dude with a lot of extension who had a bad fastball shape. It was basically like a misnomered sinker. and it was just diving right into barrels, and guys were punishing it, and that was keeping him from reaching his ceiling. He comes back from Tommy John, throws 40 innings last year. He still has a bit of a walk problem, but his fastball shape has completely changed. It's got a ton more ride, so it's a true four-seam now, and he's striking dudes out on it. And that's kind of like, these are like the micro adjustments that are such a big difference in today's game. And like the Red Sox aren't, I mean, I'm not saying that like Justinson Garcia was going to be the future of the outfield in Boston, but that's a real prospect that the Red Sox seemed pretty okay with giving up to get their hands on this arm. So I would just like really keep a close eye on Johan Oviedo early in the season, because I think we could have like, you know, a 3-4 WAR starting pitcher in the number 5 spot this year, and that just sets you up for massive amounts of success.
Yeah. And adding that much ride to your fastball, it takes more than 40 innings. You know, like you've got on major league hitters. We got to see how that plays out. And I would love to do.
Just to note, he struck out Roman 3 times in one game last year. So if anybody's happy to see him in a Red Sox uniform, it's that kid. And he doesn't, you know, get beat that handily by many pitchers. So I think that tells you all you need to know.
And the other thing too is I this is a different time to do this, Jackson, but sometime we got to take a deep dive into how they are developing these pitchers. I'm seeing this Kyson Witherspoon stuff, and adding the pitch with the drive line and stuff. And I'm just fascinated with this pitching lab, because we've talked about it. Like they haven't developed starting pitching talent really before Bayo, like since John Lester, Clay Buchholz. We're talking almost 20 years. And now it's like they've got too many. They've got all these guys that are major league ready and have this great extension and fastballs. And so we got to do that at some point.
Jake Bennett, you been seeing any of that guy in spring training?
Yes. They might have won that trade.
I think they did win that trade. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I liked Luis Perales, but I'm all in on the Jake Bennett hype train. That guy's
I'm in.
Everyone's talking about that guy like he's one of the best pitchers in camp, and he's not even going to sniff the big league roster for a while.
Yeah, they're going to become one of those teams where you don't even want to trade with them, because they're like, what are they seeing? You know, I almost felt that with this Durbin trade of like, I saw what the Brewers just did with Quinn Priester. Okay, what are they going to do now? What are they going to do now with Kyle Harrison? And the Red Sox might.
You just can't get hung up on that, because Quinn Priester was the number 9 starter in Boston. Like,
and he got a shot. Like, you know, he had a shot in the majors, and with the Red Sox, it just wasn't going to be it. And Kyle Harrison's the same way. We tack him on with the Devers trade, and there's all the angst that comes with that. But
I saw Priester start in person. It's the only Woo Sox game I've ever been to. And he gave up 4 in the first against the Toledo Mud Hens.
Well,
so
the Mud Hens,
I had super high hopes for last year. And I still kind of can't believe the year he had with the Brewers, but I also think there was some smoke and mirrors involved. So we'll see.
Mud Hens are like facing the 90s Indians, though.
Yeah. Akil Baddoo, Justin Henry Malloy. It was a murderer's row.
How do you expect to get those guys out? Are you kidding?
I don't know.
But looking at this rotation as a whole, with Oviedo as a 5, you know, Sonny Gray looking for a bounce back year in the middle of that order, probably in the back, maybe in the back end of that order, right? With Bayo in third, whatever, however you want to slice it up. Is this a top 5 rotation in all of baseball?
Top 3, maybe top. I mean, it could be the best. Like, we don't know yet, but it's way up there. And I think the Red Sox are looking at Gray like he doesn't need a bounce back season. He just needs like regression to the mean. He had a 3.3 FIP last year. He's one of like 7 pitchers in baseball who struck out 200 batters and threw over 170 innings or something. So I don't think they're concerned about him at all. I don't think they're concerned about Rangers. I think with this point at Ranger Suarez's career, you know, you might like have a weird month in there where he has like a little bit of a velocity drop or an elbow issue, but he's going to make 25 to 28 starts and give you a low 3 ERA and get a ton of ground balls. Like you're good on those 2. And I mean, nobody's like talking about Crochet like regressing, which, you know, on one hand it could scare you, but on the other hand, like he had like a couple weird months in there last year. And he also developed a splitter this offseason, which I would be terrified if I was a left-handed batter in particular, because he basically like didn't have that like otherword breaking pitch that he could throw to those guys last year. So I just think the rotation is, the floor is really high because they have so many guys, but I also think that like everyone involved has ceiling that they could still reach. So it's a really potent combo.
Yeah, and my thoughts with Crochet, because it's an interesting point. You know, he had that August, early September. He's given up a lot of homers, and you're like, what's going on with this guy? And you
Yeah.
talk about the innings. You know, it's a
Two
guy
earned runs every start on 2 solo homers.
yeah, all the time, dude. I went to a game in Milwaukee last year on Memorial Day. Gave up a homer to the first batter of the game and didn't give up another run. Like he'd give up the long ball. And the two things I think of with Crochet is like, and they're both positive, is okay, if he regresses a little bit, he's still pretty damn good. He's still a pretty damn good pitcher. And the other school of thought on the other hand of it is like, maybe he's just now getting into what the pitcher that he could be, 26 years old, 27 years old. And he's finally kind of having the regular leash of a contending ace, unlike what he had in Chicago. So there's a couple of different ways to think about it. I think it's all good.
I mean, this is like the most focused offseason he'll have ever had. Like he's recovering
no World
from
Baseball
all those
Classic.
innings. No World Baseball Classic.
Fine with me.
No trade possibilities. No extension talks. Like all that is taken care of. He's just ready to go pitch, and he spent the offseason recovering, building himself back up, and learning a new pitch that might be disgusting. So I would not bet against Garrett Crochet this year in any capacity.
Hell yeah. And I wouldn't bet against this Red Sox rotation. It is that good. Before we get you out of here, one last quick thing. Looking at this order, that's where the big hole was really for this Red Sox team. They shored up their pitching, but you're still looking for power in the middle of that order. No Pete Alonso, no Alex Bregman, not even the long shot guys, no Ketel Marte. You do add Contreras. You now have Caleb Durbin and Marcelo Meyer probably as your starters in the infield. So is that still what's going to hold the Red Sox back, the middle of that order?
It very well could be. I think the Red Sox, and this, there could be blowback for this because it's not the most like this year oriented strategy. I think the Red Sox are trying to develop an offensive core that's all like on the same timeline. I think that's what the Durbin thing is about. I think that's what not overextending for someone like Eugenio Suarez or, even Ketel Marte. I think in hindsight, they might go back and do that trade if they could, but maybe not because they get Durbin. It's, having all these guys that are between, in Roman's case, 21, but for the most part, like 23 and 27 years old who are going to be in the equation for a long time. And I think this is going to be the year where they give all those guys a leash and say, go prove to us that you are like a core piece for us. And, maybe the one or two that don't will find themselves, traded or looking for, a new job next off season, because, it's so many of them. And, we didn't even talk about Kristian Campbell, but I feel like they're still waiting for him to put his name in the mix somehow. And they don't even know what position he's going to play.
Yeah.
But
I've got so many questions about Kristian Campbell, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be a separate time.
I
got so much about Campbell. Yeah.
I love the swing adjustments. I think, there's a long way to go, quite obviously, but don't just forget about that guy. Cause at this time last year, he was, it was how far ahead of his development he was. So even with some major setbacks, he's still he's got time to figure it out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. That will be another. We will have you on for that because I said I was looking at Kristian Campbell. That there's so many ways we can go with that. So that'll be a different time for sure. Jackson is always working, but holy crap, has he been churning out the content this last week? Man, Jackson, anything you've got you're working on or that you want to promote away.
Man, just the articles are coming fast and furious, and
5 a day, man. You're just
I don't see that stopping anytime soon because once we get to the season here, there's going to be actual baseball to break down. Even starting this weekend, there's going to be actual baseball to break down. So just stay locked in on that. That's really all I can say. All that wins for SI these days is just you see the article on Google, you click it, and hopefully I deliver and make it interesting for you. So that's all we can say.
Man, you deliver. You wind up and you deliver. Jackson, you're very generous with your time again. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to check in on some more Red Sox stuff in the next couple of weeks here. It's ramping up.
That sounds like a plan. Looking forward to it.
There he goes. Jackson Roberts Sports Illustrated, our Red Sox expert, never fails us. I'll tell you that much. Let me know what you think about this team as we look ahead for real spring training games this week. Is it better than last year? Where are their holes? How good is this rotation? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Okay, we're dropping videos on YouTube every single weekday. All right, it's your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. It's the only show in the market by the fans for the fans. So don't miss a single thing that we're dropping here on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart on 365 Sports. When we come back, I've got an axe to grind with a lot of people around the NFL. Bo Nix is overrated. Bo Nix is not better than Drake Maye, no matter what you think. And we will tell you unequivocally why after this short break on the Wicked Boston Show.
Blackmore Bar and Kitchen, located in Charlestown, is the perfect spot for a bite and drink before a Bruins or Celtics game at TD Garden. Blackmore Bar and Kitchen offers 34 rotating beers, craft cocktails, and an eclectic menu of tavern favorites like burgers, sandwiches, and flatbreads. Join us for brunch every Saturday and Sunday, plus pre- and post-game garden events. Blackmore Bar and Kitchen. Check us out at blackmorebar.com.
At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Polo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
But boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. us.muc-off.com.
The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. U-Like.
Back here on the Wicked Boston Show, 365 Sports, your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Shout out to Zach Burke, who keeps us live from behind the glass every weekday, every day that we're on. Man, Zach is keeping us on, and we gotta get Zach more in the fold here in the next couple of weeks. I've been trying to figure out this new schedule, how we're gonna do the content. Definitely got to get Zach more in the fold here in the next couple of weeks as it happens. I was going to talk about the 86 finals, which Zach was not alive for, but could have been funny. But Canada has one. And so it won't be like the Celtics playing the Rockets in the finals. We could have a Celtics-Lakers final after all. U.S. plays right after this. I mean, I don't know. I got to look deeper into how they do this seeding. But the fact that Canada gets the checks, in Canada was maybe the most impressive team in the group play. They get the checks in the first playoff knockout round. And the U.S., which was the second most impressive, if not the most, gets Sweden in the first round of it. Like, those should be semifinal games. Finland, give them their flowers, but come on, man. Come on. Anyway, we're going to talk. I am so jacked up for this USA hockey game, man. I am so jacked up for it. And if they win and they're playing on Friday, forget about it. I'm recording the show early. I'm going to be like an absolute mess for that game. But let's talk about let's talk about some football because there is something that has really gotten me pissed off the last couple of weeks, and it has to do with Bo Nix and Drake Maye specifically and how they've been compared to each other. I'll go out, I'll get bold and say this. Bo Nix snapping his ankle in the AFC divisional round and not playing in the AFC championship game is the best thing that's ever happened to him PR-wise. Once Bo Nix doesn't play in that game against Drake Maye, all bets are off. He becomes the what-if quarterback. What if he played? What if this? Bo Nix would have done this. Bo Nix would have won this game. And it just leads to fodder online, which is mind-numbingly stupid. Like, for example, this one. If you replace Bo Nix with Drake Maye, the Patriots win the Super Bowl. If you replace Drake Maye with Bo Nix, the Broncos don't make the playoffs. Based on what? Because I said so. Because I smoked a whole bunch of crack and I hit tweet. And I saw this right after the Super Bowl. Redraft of that great 2024 NFL draft with quarterbacks. Caleb's still going number 1. Then Bo Nix is going number 2. Jaden Daniels is going to the Patriots. And Drake Maye slips down to 4. Mind you, there is only one quarterback in this draft class that has played in a Super Bowl. There is only one quarterback who in this draft class was finished top 2 in an MVP voting. And it's not Caleb Williams. It's not Jaden Daniels. And certainly it is not Bo Nix. But now we can just throw this shit out there. Because Drake Maye was bad in the Super Bowl, Bo Nix must be better. Give me a break with that. The best thing that's ever happened to Bo Nix was not playing in that conference championship game. What's the saying? Like, better to assume you're stupid than open your mouth and not leave any doubt. Bo Nix left nothing up to chance. By not playing, he is suddenly this elite quarterback, this great what-if story. Bo Nix is a fine quarterback. He is not as good as Drake Maye. There is no world where Bo Nix is as good or better than Drake Maye. Like this whole thing now that you're taking this victory lap for, how about we actually look at the numbers? Uh-oh. Oh, no. We've got the numbers here. There is not a single stat that Bo Nix is actually better than Drake Maye at. He had one more rushing touchdown on the year. Everything else, Drake Maye is better. He is better. Drake Maye is better than Bo Nix in every meaningful category that a quarterback can be better than another quarterback in. And quite frankly, it's not really close. 10% better on his completion percentage with 2.5 more yards per throw. He's making more difficult throws and making them more easily, more regularly than Bo Nix is. Threw for 500 more yards almost. Threw for more touchdowns, threw less picks, had a way better rating. And but Bo Nix is such a good scrambler. That's what happens when you take him out of the Broncos offense. You don't get the quarterback run anymore. That's where Bo Nix is winning them games. That's great and all, but Drake Maye is a better runner than Bo Nix is as well. Like, it's really not close, but you'll have these dipshits just throwing it out there. Oh, well, if I had to draft today, I'd pick Bo Nix over Drake Maye. Do you see what Drake Maye did in the Super Bowl? And the playoff round that they actually overlapped in, where Drake Maye played a top 5 defense, Bo Nix played a top 10 defense. Drake Maye won comfortably and had basically the same stat line as Bo Nix, whose team won in overtime. So you can't really use that argument either, can you? No, you can't. And in 1 year versus 2 years in the playoffs, Drake Maye has more playoff wins than Bo Nix does. So really, there's nothing that you can point to and say, yeah, that's why Bo Nix is a better quarterback than Drake Maye. Because he takes less sacks? Is that what I've seen Broncos fans try that one now. Because Drake Maye takes a lot more sacks. And the Broncos coach is the one who says that quarterback stats, or that sacks are a quarterback stat. Like, yeah, if you watch any amount of football in your life and you see the Broncos offensive line in a game versus Drake Maye's offensive line in a game, or the defenses that Drake Maye had to play in the postseason and the offensive line that was in front of him, maybe it's pretty apparent why Drake Maye takes more sacks than Bo Nix does. And maybe it's pretty apparent as to why that's not as much a knock on Drake Maye as you want it to be. Bo Nix, again, is a good quarterback. Okay? He is not as good as Drake Maye in anything. Not a single thing. And it just goes to show, once again, how much we have lost the plot as sports fans in this social media generation. Because once Drake Maye loses the Super Bowl, he's ass. Bad. I'd draft him 4th in a redraft. 3 other quarterbacks in his draft class ahead of him. This was days after he finished 2nd in the MVP voting in the closest MVP race in 2 decades. Now all of a sudden he's trash and he's garbage and he sucks and Bo Nix is better. Give me a break, dude. Like, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm really not, dude. Like, if you have this opinion about Drake Maye and Bo Nix, if you are going to do a redraft and draft Bo Nix over Drake Maye, you should not be allowed to vote. You shouldn't be allowed to procreate. In fact, it should be the opposite of like sex offenders. You should be required to live within 500 feet of a school just so maybe you can get a contact high off some sort of knowledge. But if you actually believe that Bo Nix is a better quarterback than Drake Maye in the big 2026, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. You shouldn't be allowed to have kids. You shouldn't be allowed to drive. I think that's fair. Because you can't get a dumber take than that. Based off one game that Bo Nix didn't even play in. That's what you're basing it off of. That's a joke, man. Oh, but Drake Maye had the schedule. Baby. Yeah. Did Drake Maye have the schedule? Easiest schedule in football. And through the first 15 weeks before the Broncos were resting their starters, Denver had the 4th easiest schedule in football. So it's not like they went through this murderer's row. Oh, but they played the Chiefs twice. Yeah, the Chiefs sucked. Well, they played the Chargers twice. Chargers are great. Okay. They're not great when they play the Patriots. Remember, that's the Patriots won that game because the Chargers suck and they have no offensive line. But when Bo Nix beats them, man, they're one of the best teams in football. Patriots had the easiest schedule. Broncos had the 4th easiest. And yet, the Patriots were 80 points better in point differential. 80. They played a top 5 easy schedule and kicked the shit out of teams the whole season. The Broncos played a top 5 easiest schedule and skated by the whole season. And that's fine. You won the games. You can't take that away. But does that mean your quarterback's more impressive than ours? No. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. So, yeah, it's an insane take. Just like the people who, after 1 year in the Super Bowl, are ready to say, nah, Drake Maye is actually not good, and he's not going to get back. And he and Will Campbell will never get back together. They've played 1 season. They made the Super Bowl. Like, if you read these takes about Drake Maye after this season, you would think they had another 4-win season and that Bo Nix was finishing 2nd in MVP. Like, you'd be stunned to find out that that's not the truth. The greatest thing that ever happened to Bo Nix was not being the man in the arena, was being the man in the press box. That's the best thing to ever happen to Bo Nix, not playing in that AFC Championship game. Because now we could just throw this out till the cows come home. Man, what if Oh, but if Bo Nix had this, but if the Broncos had this. When in reality, Drake Maye was out there with a roster that was not as good as Denver's and did play in the Super Bowl. Elevated his team to that level. Bo Nix will never elevate his team the way Drake Maye has. Never. He's just not, he's a good quarterback. He's not that good. No. So if you are dumb enough to argue against this, please let me know in the comment section below. And be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're dropping every weekday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well. But you're wrong. If you think Bo Nix is better than Drake Maye, you're wrong. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. It is the only Boston Sports Talk show that is by the fan and for the fan. And we are so privileged to be bringing it to you on 365 Sports. Thank you to Zach Burke from Behind the Glass. Thank you to Jackson Roberts for joining the show. Thank you to you guys for tuning in. And we will see you on the next one. Go USA on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart.
Blackmore Bar and Kitchen, located in Charlestown, is the perfect spot for a bite and drink before a Bruins or Celtics game at TD Garden. Blackmore Bar and Kitchen offers 34 rotating beers, craft cocktails, and an eclectic menu of tavern favorites like burgers, sandwiches, and flatbreads. Join us for brunch every Saturday and Sunday, plus pre- and post-game garden events. Blackmore Bar and Kitchen. Check us out at blackmorebar.com.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.